of quorum. So when I call your jurisdiction, please confirm using your raise hand button or verbally. City of Tucson?
We're present.
City of South Tucson? Town of Oro Valley?
Here.
Town of Marana?
Here.
Town of Saharita?
Here.
Pima County?
Hi, Rio. It's Jonathan.
Tohono O'odham Nation? Pasco Yaqui Tribe? And I believe that is it. All right, so let's move to the first item here, the in-kind form. As you all know, regional planning efforts are enhanced by recording time donated by attendees, volunteers, and participants. PAG collects data on the time dedicated to meeting and activities to apply for use as matching funds for grants and federal dollars. If you are paid with federal dollars, please let us know now. All right, hearing none, we can move on to the next item. All right, so today I'm going to give a presentation on proposed changes to Route 412 to start. I'm going to go ahead and take over screen sharing to go ahead and give you an overview of the changes through our planning software Remix. Can everyone see that?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. So I'm going to zoom into this area here in Casas Adobes. This planning effort was initially started as a preliminary recommendation from the COA team. There has been no formal recommendation, although this is a agreed upon subject that we have considered for a couple of different reasons. And this is the current routing of Route 412. As you can tell, we're going to be focusing on the south side section here, and more specifically the area between Shannon and Ina, or excuse me, Shannon and Orange Grove, and River and La Cañada. We've identified the area between River and La Cañada and River and Shannon as being low ridership compared to the rest of the route. And our proposed solution, and the solution that we held several public meetings and a public comment period for, looks like this, the orange line here. And this will move our section on River to La Cañada and then on to Orange Grove, thereby serving Northwest Medical Center in the process. And we have a couple of statistics that we'd like to share with you regarding this change. And for that, I'll turn it over to Adam Ledford, our management analyst.
Hi, everyone. Glad to see some familiar faces here. Let me share screen and I'll show you what we've got going on. Oh, it looks like I'll have to get you to stop sharing first, Rita. All right. There we go. Can everybody see that okay?
Yes.
All right. So for 412, minus a couple of kind of low number changes that give very large percentages, it's a little bit of a wash demographically. We gain some total jobs according to CTPP as a data source. We serve slightly more households. There's a little bit of an uptick in essential jobs. And there's a little bit of an uptick. There's a decent uptick in people who are over 65. The population change is pretty flat because it was already going through neighborhood residential. Where we lose a little bit of ground is a percentage of non-white Hispanic Latino origin. A little bit of the population in poverty goes down, and there are a couple less schools. Overall, there's not a compelling statistical justification for doing it, except for we had a pretty overwhelming amount of public response in the survey, by almost 80% to 20% in favor of the change. So in this particular instance, and in other route changes, there's a very, very clear-cut case for it. In this case, demographically, there's not a really strong case either way. The survey data was really driving this change more than anything else.
So let me go ahead and share my screen again, and I want to open the floor to questions on this specific change to the Route 412.
Hey, Rio, it's Jonathan.
Mhm.
I don't have any questions and it looks reasonable, but I just, maybe an observation or comment is that, when you're looking at the statistics and the metrics, I'm assuming you're pulling those from, databases based on, TAZs or census tracts or whatever, which might, which is good, but I think a compelling reason for modifying any transit route really needs to be primarily based on, ridership and community needs and desires. So even though you may have demographics that say, hey, we've got this many more, destinations or this many more hospitals or nursing homes or population one way or the other, if people aren't actually using those particular stops and destinations, and if they're not getting on and off in places that you're going to go to, then the demographics and the statistics don't mean squat. So in this case, it's like you said, it's kind of a wash at them. So there's not really like a big concern that some of the metrics dip a little bit. But if you're getting an overwhelming 80% recommendation from the customers to move this route, I think that should be our method of doing so for this and other routes, frankly. So that's just my comment on this so far.
Any other comments, questions?
Rio, it's Lisa.
Okay, I hear Lisa, and then who also?
John has a question.
Okay, I hear Lisa and then John.
All right, I'm just curious, why not going south? Why not choose La Cholla to go south? I mean, I know you're going to be passing by Northwest Hospital on the north, but it's significantly to the north. And if somebody they're going to have a pretty good walk, and then all the other doctors' offices are down La Cholla. And there's really nothing on La Cañada.
Yeah. So the main reason why is because just good principles of transit planning. We don't want to duplicate service. And we currently have a route on La Cholla from Flowing Wells north to what's going to be Uptown using La Cholla. So we didn't want to duplicate that service, especially because it's already a relatively frequent service for the northwest side at every 30 minutes. So that's our current justification for why we didn't use La Cholla and instead used La Cañada.
And if you were coming from, say, Marana or the county from up north to go to I mean, you're not, the 61 isn't really a factor in that, really. I mean, if you're coming from the north, you're going to Northwest Hospital or any of the doctor's offices, you're really not going to be able to go to the doctor's offices unless you're really going to be walking, or the specialty places, the neurologist and all the different things that are down there, unless you probably got a good quarter of a mile walk from the corner there, if not more.
Right. And we find the same to be true for Route 61. There's no good stop that serves this northern section between Corona and La Cholla. So we wanted to ensure that even if we can't directly serve Northwest Medical Center in its entirety, that we were at least expanding our footprint across the center's entire campus. Okay. Any follow-ups to that, Lisa?
No, I'm good. Thanks.
Okay, I hear John, I see Jonathan.
My question, this is John from Moore Valley. My question was the same as Lisa's, except after you discussed it all, it probably wouldn't be feasible because of time, but could you drop off of Orange Grove down through the main corridor of the hospital complex and have the join up between the other route down in that area instead of up on Orange Grove and La Jolla?
So you're
Drive?
you're saying take Corona to Rudisill and then up
Yeah.
on La Jolla?
That way people could hop off maybe closer to where they need to go and not have to switch buses.
I can model that pretty quickly, but let's get through the comments to see, you know, whether or not that's a viable alternative. Jonathan? You're muted.
Sorry. Yeah, just to follow up on the conversation of this subject, I think these are both good comments, and if there's a way to provide service to the hospital more directly, I think that makes sense. But I guess the bigger question is, do you have any data from your survey or for the COA that indicates that the rerouting would be used by people going to the Northwest complex? Because I understand the idea of not duplicating service, but because the routes start and end in different places, you're going to capture different people who might want to start on the Orange Route 412 at its origination at either end and get to that hospital, and they wouldn't otherwise use 61 because it doesn't serve them. So you're not really duplicating service for the same customers. You're providing new and different service for different people. So if you had any data that indicated that the hospital center would be a good destination and would be used by the new people on the new route, then I think it makes a lot of sense trying to make it a little easier for them, as we've been discussing.
Okay. I don't believe, unless Adam, I don't believe we have that granular of data in terms of who's commuting to Northwest Medical Center and who would be willing to shift their commute to Sun Shuttle. The best we have right now is you know, the survey that shows that 80% of folks prefer the alignment on La Cañada and Orange Grove, and they did list a couple of locations in the comment section of that form that they were excited to use Sun Shuttle to get to. The recurring theme was there was a lot of churches and religious institutions along the Orange Grove segment of the route, and Northwest Hospital came up a fair few times, but there was more excitement about being in close proximity to everyday, you know, homes, places of worship, and other institutions of that nature. I see Wendell.
Yes. I don't represent them, but I remember that they spoke out in a previous town hall meeting, and that was the principal that was present in regards to the two schools on Shannon. Was there any consideration given to trying to satisfy her concerns that removing Shannon from the route, those students that go to those two schools aren't going to have a way to get to school?
Yeah, so to backfill in some information, Wendell, myself, Preston, and a couple of others hosted two town hall meetings, and we received a comment from the principal of the JTED school on Shannon and River, that one, our hours were insufficient currently for the needs of the students in order to serve the times that the classes ended. In addition, that moving our route from Shannon to Orange Grove would then require about a 15-minute walk from JTED to the next nearest transit stop. students at JTED, she mentioned, were not currently using the service because of the hours, but expanded hours might make that more feasible. That's part of an ongoing discussion about how to better serve the area just north of River Road. And that looks like a couple of different options, but we're considering all options in the future as to how best to serve that community.
Is there, and just curious now, is there a greater benefit to this proposed route versus having the 412 go south on Shannon, north and south on Shannon to River? I know, like I said, you want to add that Orange Grove, La Cañada corridor, but did you guys weigh the pluses and minuses of doing one versus the other?
Yeah, so our main consideration was twofold. One, that the it allows for greater expansion of the Northwest Medical Center's campus to public transit, and two, that the public weighed in and their recommendation matched the preliminary recommendation from the COA pretty strongly. So those are the two real motivating factors for why we're proposing this change.
Recognizing, and again, I'm just putting this out there again, like I said, I don't represent that group, but and maybe it's a mileage thing and the cost involved, that if the route, for example, went south on Shannon to River and then north on La Cholla past the hospital back up to Orange Grove, that's going to add about 3.5 miles to the route. But it seems that then you would serve those people, both people, in that regard. Again, you may not want to do that because of the added additional 3 miles or so, but then everybody would be satisfied. Just putting it out there. I'm not trying to be their voice. I'm just putting it out there.
I see, Lisa.
The other item, that when you take it to La Cañada, instead of going down La Cholla, you're removing Ellitown Community Center from the route. I don't know if you have current riders that get off there, because it does go past it right now. So I think that's something else to consider, because it is a community center. Again, it's a county one, so I don't know how well it's used, but and again, I was looking at like La Cañada, and I just don't see like the big push down La Cañada on what is over there. A lot of the homes are further off the road, and they're bigger lots in there too. So you have a middle school, but that's about the only thing that you have going down that route.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Certainly. And was that community center along the River Road corridor or the Shannon corridor?
It's on the River Road. It's between La Cholla. It's right at that curve.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so it's right in.
Yeah, currently our ridership on River Road between La Cañada and Shannon is pretty anemic, even for our current standards of Sun Shuttle operations. We hardly pick up anyone along River Road. It's partially because the catchment area, the walk shed, is southbound is barred by the actual river itself. So you get very, very little. You only get basically half the potential of a fixed route service on River Road.
Hey, Rio.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry to chime in again. I'm a talker. I'm wondering, when we're always looking at making our routes more efficient and gaining more ridership, the major routing decisions like we're talking about now are the first level of consideration. But I'm wondering, and I don't have any data or any knowledge to back this up, but I'm wondering to what extent, if you actually start to provide a little bit more of a door-to-door service and deviate the route off of the main arterials to go to front doors of businesses, if that would really increase the usability and the attractiveness of the service compared to having to walk from the front door of a Safeway, 1,000 feet or 2,000 feet out to a hot, busy, loud intersection to try to find the bus stop. I know it adds time and delay and some cost to the service, but I'm wondering if that's a trade-off that we might want to consider making with the hopes that it could actually increase ridership to less than anemic levels. And when you mentioned that at the corner of La Cholla and River, it's a huge shopping center down there, but it may just be that the bus stops are so far away from front doors that people decide it's not worth it. So that's something to consider. And I don't know if it's something you guys have already thought about, but going more door to door than staying right on the main arterials.
Yeah, thank you, Jonathan. So this is part of an ongoing effort. I recognize that door-to-door service is something that we have invested in before, and we're actually studying that for the future. So you will likely hear more news on that in the coming, transit working group meetings as being, a potential service alternative.
Great.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay, any other questions or comments on the Route 412 proposed corridor? All right, seeing and hearing none, I'd like to ask for a motion to approve.
City of Tucson motions to approve the changes.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Wendell, the National Express is a non-voting member.
Oh, okay. I won't be offended by that.
I'll second Rio.
Okay, I hear a second. I'll ask for yays and nays. If we hear any nays or abstentions, I just ask that you go ahead and provide you go ahead and raise your hand, and then so we can mark it down. Okay. All in favor, say yay.
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 It's going out this afternoon.
All opposed?
I'm going to oppose because I just think it should go down La Cholla. It's Lisa.
Okay. One opposed. Any abstentions? All right. The change passes. And I will move on to our next big route change, and I'll go ahead and share my screen for this one as well. This is a far more complex one, and I expect probably a similar level of discussion. So while we're focused on the northwest side, this is the current route alignment for Route 413. I'll go ahead and highlight what it currently transfers to. At Tucson Premium Outlets, we transferred to Route 414P, which is the Picture
You
Box
can't see the
pilot.
screen, Rio.
There we go. We
Oh.
don't have it on right now.
Thank you.
There we go.
I forgot to hit share. Okay. This is the current route alignment for Route 413. As you can see at Tucson Premium Outlets, we transferred to Route 414P and Route 412. And at the Thornydale and Ina location, we go ahead and transfer to Route 16. I'm not highlighting our express routes because those are infrequent and typically really specialized to get people at park and rides to downtown. Okay. So what we're proposing is based off of, again, the public input process, as well as some statistics, but I'll go ahead and show you that new line now. So this constitutes a pretty big expansion from Marana Municipal Center. We would be stopping northbound and southbound at the Rojito stop for every ride now, which was not the case in the previous iteration of Route 413. And then we would take Linda Vista to Bald Eagle, which turns into Camino do Este, then on to, let me zoom in here, then on to excuse me, Cordero Farms Road, and then making the same loop that Route 61 does at the end of its run here, which would serve Pima Community College Northwest, the DMV, Nanini Library, the YMCA, and what the future development of Uptown is going to be, as well as a Walmart Supercenter here off of La Cholla. Let's see.
So Rita, are you proposing changes to just 413 right now, or are there multiple changes?
This is only changes to Route 413. I'm going to go ahead and hide everything else so that you can, I was just showing for, to show the connections that would be enabled through the change. So it would be connecting to Route 61 in addition to all the current routes.
Can you toggle back and forth between the existing and the proposed?
Yes, current, yeah. So you know what, I can make it even easier. Let me change the color of this to something much more legible, like a purple, and then present, and then this should show the two side by side. The purple is the original route and the teal is the new. Okay. I'm going to throw it over to Adam to give some statistics on this revised route.
All right, thanks, Rio. And there we go. Okay, in this case, very different story. And as was mentioned before, I should have given the background. We are using the Remix GIS data that pulls from 0.25 miles from every stop that's served in order to grab this data. In this situation, I mean, I could talk about all these very large numbers, but it's all based on the population jump coming off of the interstate because of the amount of residential stops that are now impacted. You know, we have a 12-fold increase in the total population that's served based on where the stops would be located. And therefore, not going to spend a ton of time on the rest of these because everything's impacted positively. I will kind of call out, just because it's important in any statistical analysis, if we look at one particular thing where a percentage of the population is given, it's especially important in these situations to recognize how much larger the new population is, because what looks like an 8% change to the negative is actually almost a 10-fold increase in the actual numbers served. So in this, again, because we have like a 12x factor of a population increase, there's no demographic or by number, by raw count that goes down. Most of them are in multiples of 5 or more. Outside of that, you know, interesting changes just as far as compositional makeup. The kind of the biggest increase in any one demographic we see are 65 plus and folks who are below poverty line.
Any questions for Adam on those statistics? I know we went over them pretty quickly.
Sorry, I stopped a little too soon. I can share that
okay.
if anybody likes.
Can you share one more time? I do have a question.
Absolutely. Sorry about that.
So how is the, when you have the population, like the 12,676, where is that population? Is it so many, like a half mile along the line, or how do you generate the 12,000?
It's a quarter-mile proximity to the individual stops. And so the reason for this huge jump is that where it deviates off of the interstate, we're just tapping into a very, very large residential denser area. And so all the mileage that was previously along the interstate where there's almost zero population, that's really where you're seeing the largest change.
So it really doesn't take into account that, I mean, I guess it wouldn't, how we have the dial-a-ride up where everybody, you know, your dial-a-ride can get to basically, it serves all of Avra Valley, all of Marana, to get to where that population, or to get where the 413 picks up. So that doesn't take, it just takes in, the 979 just takes in right around essentially the health center. Correct?
Correct. Yeah, this is not incorporating any dial-a-ride or any other last mile kind of solutions that go into this. This is just raw proximity to the stops.
Okay.
Any other questions on the data? Hearing none, I'll go ahead and switch back over to my screen here. So and to address the questions of the origination of why we're looking at this change, there's a couple of things. First of all, we know that the section along the freeway is not generating any ridership. As Adam mentioned, anytime we use the freeway, we know that we can't stop along the side to pick anyone up without making a pretty big a lot of turns, which of course we want to minimize. In addition, the only at grade intersection that we run into on the northwest side of town is at Cortero Farms here along the frontage road. And this causes a lot of issues for us because even though we don't actually cross over the track, the traffic that is generated on either side of that creates a pretty nasty knock-on effect where we lose a lot of efficiency in that time period. And finally, we wanted to connect to institutions that Marana currently doesn't have, such as the community college and the DMV being the two big ones that we're most excited to connect Marana residents to. I see Jonathan.
Yeah. I mean, no, I didn't mean to interrupt. I have a question if you're finished describing.
Go
Okay.
ahead.
So I guess, not knowing any details about the ridership on this, it's hard to, for me or anybody to really kind of assess what we're doing here. And I don't know, for example, if there are a lot of riders who are picking up at the, Thornydale, Ina Road origination or termination, and then riding it all the way up to the northern end of the route. And likewise, if how many people are getting on and off around the Cortero shopping areas. So you're obviously cutting out those two locations with this route. And I guess I'm wondering, I know that getting in and out of the Cortero shopping district is a lot of traffic, and that's not easy, as you mentioned. But if there were a lot of riders who were starting at the southern end of this route, who would be not provided any more service with this route change, did you consider, is that an issue, I guess, number one? And then if it is, could you route the new route down Old Father or Thornydale to pick up those people if there are people there, and then continue east along Ina Road and service the same facilities that you're planning to serve with the new route?
Yeah, so we considered that. One of the main reasons why we decided to use Cortero Farms is Route 16 also serves this area at a much higher frequency, I might add. Transferring here or at the, let me go ahead and highlight again, Route 412. Let me go ahead and restart this here. Route 412 also serves this shopping plaza. So we expect that transfers will be able to accommodate anyone who's attempting to reach the Ina and Thornydale location. Did that sufficiently answer your question? Ridership, that's correct. So, and to give a little bit of background on Route 413, currently Route 413 is our, it's the route that has the least riders per month besides Route 414P, which is of course a pilot program. And in addition, suffers from having poor on-time performance due to the at-grade intersection of the railroad that I mentioned prior. So this attempts to allow for, by expanding the overall service area that is not being served currently by SunTran or Sun Shuttle, allows for a higher ridership potential. So I hope that answered your question.
Rio, can you move your legend down to the bottom left corner?
Yes.
Thank you.
I see Lisa.
So I do have a couple of concerns. I've talked with Rio on them, just wanted to point them out that we're taking, and I totally understand the Walmart one, and I think I would at this point remove Walmart at Cotero. It's just a mess. However, if you are doing the dial-a-ride in North Marana or in Avra Valley for that matter, and you're taking that dial-a-ride and you're getting on the 413, say you want to go to the grocery store, your options now are to either transfer to the, this will be transferring to the 414 and go to Safeway, or transferring to the 412 that will get you to Fry's or to Target. But if you stay on it and you want to go to the Walmart that is over off La Cholla, I think that distance, that right now the Walmart gets taken, dropped off pretty close by the store, I believe. That Walmart is really pushed kind of far back off the road. So it is quite a hike if they are, wanting to go to that Walmart. So it's a little bit, there's quite a bit of a distance, I would say. So I think it's going to be a pretty good impact because you're removing Lowe's, Target, Fry's, and the Walmart that you're going to is not as accessible as the current one. So I think it would be a lot less of an issue in, say, 2 years when there's a Fry's in Gladden Farms, because it's going to be one of the big marketplace ones that has everything. So you'll have your Target, your Fry's, everything all together in that one. But for the next 2 years, I think it'll be pretty impactful for people that are traveling from North Marana or from the Avra Valley area to get to a grocery store. That's my own comment.
And to address that concern, Lisa, I should mention that the timing between the two versions of this route, the current and the proposed, are pretty similar. And in fact, we may be able to reach the Walmart Supercenter before the current route would reach the Fry's and Target in this shopping center, simply because we're not competing with traffic at Cotero Farms. And in addition, the route is a little bit more direct to the Walmart Supercenter. So we believe we're competitive on time to get to the Walmart Supercenter.
I can add one more. I do like kind of like Jonathan's idea that if you did take it through Bald Eagle and all the way down, but if you took it Thornydale down, that certainly does open it back up so that they can get to that Fry's or that Target pretty easily, or Lowe's for that matter.
Right.
Just a thought.
Okay. I'm willing to hear any motions to change the route, change the proposed route to something that's more palatable to the town of Marana and the Pima County, using Thornydale or Old Father, and then Ina along the rest of the route. I will say my preference is, of course, to keep it on Cotero Farms, simply because we just get the added benefit of expanding to areas that we have not been able to serve before. But yeah, any motions that are coming from this discussion, I'd be willing to hear.
Rio, can you add on all the routes on this map right now?
Certainly, yeah. So there's Route 61. That's 401, which is not relevant. Picture Rocks Pilot. Those are all the routes that currently interact with the northwest side.
Yeah, I mean, it's, I could suggest as an alternate, like I said, running down Old Father or Community Oeste, or even, somehow getting through to get down to Ina Road. But, not knowing what the data is and not knowing where everyone's going to and from, other than what kind of Lisa has been able to share with us today. It's I don't have a lot of confidence that what I'm going to recommend might be better than what you guys have suggested. So it's kind of hard for us to kind of evaluate and make recommendations on the fly here at the meetings without having time to kind of do a little research on our end and talk to you guys offline. So I'd like to suggest maybe doing an alternate route, but I don't have a lot of confidence with my knowledge that that's going to be better than what you guys have come up with. So and then it seems like once we make these decisions today, it kind of gets set in stone for a while, and all the brochures get printed and everybody gets used to it. And so it's like it's such a major decision, and to have it not be based on, other than, a quick read today, I'm not sure I'm comfortable making recommendations on something different other than listening to what Lisa or somebody else might say is a bad idea.
Okay. I see Orlanthea.
I had a question. Can you turn off the current, but leave the proposed just to see what it looks like? Because it's a little misleading. So you have the Silver Bell area now cut off from all the routes. Is it possible to loop around, maybe avoiding the Cortero Farms and following Silver Bell to the 414 and taking that freeway entrance, so that at least you're passing by another Fry's, you're avoiding the large congested area around Walmart, but then you're still providing some service to the people on the west side of the freeway.
Okay. Yeah. So I might rely on Wendell a little bit for this information, but I know that we've mentioned Silver Bell and Old Father as two alternative routes in the past. And we have run routes on Old Father and Silver Bell in the past. And Wendell, do you remember how they performed ridership wise?
That was our old 415, I want to say, and was not part of the 410. The ridership has never been that heavy along that particular part of the corridor. It just, a lot of people out there have cars. There wasn't much of a need. The only concern that's been raised to me through our drivers is that Walmart area, because there's a lot of stores there and there's even a guy that walks from the Walmart to the Fry's. That's the only concern I've had at all.
Okay. Orlanthea, do you have any follow-ups?
No follow-ups.
Okay. All right. I hear that there is trepidation around approving this route change. I'm still going to call for a motion to approve just to see if there's an appetite for it. A motion to approve.
Can I do an alternate motion first?
Yes, please.
I'd like to do an alternate motion to go Old Father down to Ina and continue all the way doing the loop at Walmart and the Northwest YMCA and Pima College.
Okay. I hear a motion to deviate the route just to make sure that I understand this correctly. I'm going to go ahead and mock it up here from we'll go ahead and oh, goodness. It would look roughly
Drop an extra pin if you need to, Rio. That'll keep it still.
okay. So it would look roughly like this, correct? That it would travel along Cortero Farms to Old Father, then to Ina, and then into the loop.
Correct. That is my proposal.
Okay.
Hey Rio, this is Mike with Over Valley. Are you guys anticipating a lot of ridership in that where those two routes are kind of next to each other? Was that the 412 and
Mhm.
whatever the green one is?
Yeah, so the 412 produces a lot of ridership along Thornydale. It's one of our major corridors, and we foresee it continuing to be a major corridor as development expands. Old Father is definitely a different route profile or corridor profile. Between Cortero Farms and Ina, it's mainly residential. However, because of the we're running Sunshell neighborhood circulators, we don't have nearly as many, we're not as concerned as say running a Sunshell bus as opposed to a Suntran bus. They're far more maneuverable, and they're really meant to go into smaller neighborhoods and serve those kind of bring them out to larger routes. So it'd be a different demographic, certainly.
And I think, can I add, I think going down Old Father, you definitely have a ton of more like homes that would have the possibility of using it versus if you go down the McGee alignment, they're a little bit, I would say a little bit more affluent in that area. You're next to the Tucson Omni and everything, which I don't believe you're gonna get a lot of ridership on that route. That's just a thought I had.
Right. Okay. So I have a motion to amend the recommendation to the transit working group. Do I hear a second?
I'd second that.
Okay. A second from Pima County. I'm going to do the same method as I did last time. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, hearing none. Any abstentions? Hearing none, I'm going to go ahead and request a motion to approve the proposed changes as amended.
So moved.
Second.
I hear a motion and a second. I'm going to go ahead and do the same as before. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, the motion passes. Okay. Finally, I wanted to present to you the minor changes, the kind of miscellaneous stuff that's happening in the Sun Shuttle booklet that's coming out in August. Let me go ahead and pull that up for you. It's very minor. There's only two changes that are, let me go ahead and pull up my remix once more. On route 421X, we've went ahead and talked to the shuttle operators. They believe that La Cañada south of Duval Mine Road is an opportunity zone to implement what's a flag zone. For those who are unfamiliar, flag zone is an area where the passenger can flag the driver down at any point along the given stretch of road, and given that it is safe for the driver to pull off and pick someone up, they can do so. So instead of having one stop along La Cañada at Trader Lane, the entire corridor is now eligible. In addition, we're adding 2 stops on the north section of 421X at the VA and at the South Tucson Municipal Center. This is meant to serve as a more of an express option for VA workers and people who work in and around the city of South Tucson. Any questions on changes to Route 421X?
Yes, this is Dick Roberts, Green Valley. At the present time on La Cañada south of Duval Mine Road, we have a couple of stops on the west side of La Cañada. Are those going to be removed and only be flagged, or what are the plans there?
So currently, as of right now, in the booklet, there's only 2 stops along La Cañada. There's Duval Mine and La Cañada southbound, and there's La Cañada and Trader Lane here just south of Esperanza. So
If I recall, there's another stop in there south of the one on Duval Mine Road, but it's been a while since I looked at that.
I don't believe there is, and I could be wrong. I'm looking at the pamphlet now, and it's only showing the additional stop at Duval Mine and La Cañada, and the stop at La Cañada and Trader Lane. So if there's a third stop here that we're not aware of, then we would like to know about that. But the flag zone would not eliminate any existing stops. It would only expand the area to wherever a driver could safely pull off and pick up someone along La Cañada.
Okay, thank you.
I see Jonathan.
Yeah, my question is related to Dick's concerns, and I'm trying to do some research here while we're talking to see where there might be some established bus stops currently, and in particular bus shelters. So I haven't found one yet in the last couple seconds or minute, but I wouldn't want to necessarily remove an existing bus shelter and a bus stop if it's being used. If it doesn't have any use, then I might be more willing and more agreeable to eliminating a formal stop. But if they're being used, then there's a trade-off between getting rid of a formal stop where people can sit and get in the shade and just having a flag stop that could change every day. So I guess I don't know enough about the ridership again of this particular route to understand the implications of your suggested changes.
I think the only shelter is at Trader Lane. I think the ones that are stops up south of Duval Mine Road don't have shelters.
Okay.
Maria,
Is Trader Lane at the further south end of the route there?
Yeah, this is the Trader Lane stop here.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't see a shelter there when I pulled it up on Google Maps, but
it's the only signed stop on.
Right.
Yeah.
There's a pad, but there's no shelter except that there are some trees. But so you wouldn't change that. That would still be there.
That's correct. We're only talking about adding additional stop the flag zone. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think I'm okay with it then. Otherwise.
Could I just quickly add, we did a ride along just to kind of observe what that corridor looked like. And we noticed on the east side of the road, there are quite a few benches in place, not necessarily shade shelters, but they're just a lot of existing benches. And that kind of helped inform the decision that this would be a great flag zone area because there are quite a few existing places to sit and wait for a bus.
Yeah, we have, I think we have benches every quarter mile along there.
Yeah. Okay. Any further questions? I see Orlanthea and I see Michael Alexander.
So I'm on Google Maps right now, and I see a lot of no parking signs along La Cañada south of Duval Mine. And then you have a vertical curb, and the curb, well, the striping shows that it's also a bicycle lane.
Yeah.
So will some of that signage be changed, or will you add signage that says that that's going to be a flag route? And if you have stops, if people have areas, the sidewalk doesn't come all the way to the curb, so you do have some dirt. So if it needs to be an accessible space, does the shuttle pad go out far enough to connect to the sidewalk that runs along the road?
I know that we have other Sun Shuttle routes that traverse similar areas. I'm going to defer to Wendell Hunt to describe the ADA capabilities of our Sun Shuttle.
Yes, the lifts that we deploy do extend approximately 4.5 feet out from the side of the bus. So, and the drivers have been instructed and are taught to not stop the bus where there's a concern about the terrain. In other words, if they have to pull up a few feet or stop a few feet short in order to allow wheelchair access or disability access, then they will do that. They're trained to do that, so that should not be a concern.
Okay. I see Michael Alexander, then Dick Roberts, then Jonathan Crow.
My concern was what the previous lady was just talking about. Is there going to be signage letting pedestrians know that this is a flag area? And then have the drivers told you about different areas that are good places to stop?
So currently we have no plans for additional signage along La Cañada. But that if that is the recommendation of this working group, then we can explore that option. And I see Dick Roberts.
Yeah, I guess I sort of follow up on that comment. How do you designate a flag zone all that length of La Cañada?
So the way that we do it is by putting it in our booklet. That's the main mechanism. And there really is no other way to show besides in the booklet. We obviously don't want to have stops at every place that it's safe to drop off at, because that would take up a lot of La Cañada. But what we could also do is produce a sign that says between here and here, those locations are flag zones.
Okay, I think we can follow up with the local newspaper on that because a lot of people don't have the booklet and
Right.
probably won't ever get the booklet. So
Right.
we'll
Okay.
have to, when you do that, we're going to have to follow up on that down here.
Okay. Understood. Any other comments or questions on the flag zone?
Can you also notify on the bus itself?
Yes. Yeah. Every time we make a change, we go to produce public notices for every change, and post them on the website and have information about all that posted somewhere on the bus.
I think it would be a really good idea to have designated areas. That way pedestrians walking by, your driver just passed me up. Well, there's got to be a certain area so the driver doesn't get in trouble with trying to park on a busy street in an area that he really can't park there.
Mm-hmm. Right. Okay. Any other questions or comments on Route 421X? Okay, I see James Castaneda.
I just like to echo a similar concern. Looking at the street view, it looks like they do have signs along that corridor, right lane, golf carts and bicycles only. So I guess the city's recommendation would be if we can get signage to add to that, or I'm not a traffic engineer, but something to inform folks and other travelers that buses will now be occupying that lane, I think would be a wise decision.
Okay, understood.
Yeah, Rio, again, this is Dick Roberts. Have you got input from people that, from data that they would like to have this as a flag area?
Yeah. So we've heard from several passengers along Route 421X that this area in particular, that they want to be dropped off along La Cañada, and that having a stop, a stop, doesn't really serve the neighborhoods that go along there. So we've heard feedback to this effect. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, I'll move along. The only other change that's going to be taking place is Route 440. Route 440 and Route 401 both had timetable adjustments. They're not significant. We removed time points along the route to remove redundant time points. And better time the route to meet on-time performance standards. You'll see that these routes have very similar run times to what they previously had before. So this is the weekday minus Wednesday schedule of Route 440. And then for 401, we went ahead and reduced similarly, we reduced the amount of time points to remove redundant time points. This one did not include a retime, I believe. Yeah. Any questions on the timing? I see Lisa.
I don't have a question regarding the timing, but just overall, you didn't have any changes to the 414 and I know that was in its, 1-year trial. Is that going to become official, or is it extending, or any update on that?
We are undergoing assessment of 414's performance in relation to our performance goals for all Sun Shuttle routes. And we'll have a full recommendation to this committee for the October booklet.
Thank you.
November.
Yes, thank you, Davida. I see John.
Yeah, this is John from Morro Valley, and we just want to again make our request or point, or however you want to say it. I know we've submitted it before, but we would like to see the headway change to 30 minutes at some point. And we'd like to see the weekend stuff be considered again.
Understood. Thank you. Any other questions or comments? All right, hearing none. Those are the changes that we'll be implementing, kind of miscellaneous. We can get back to the PowerPoint. Yeah, there we go. So we wanted to provide a quick update to the transit working group on some transit solutions and successes that we've had over the past since we've last met. So to briefly go over these and to answer any questions that you may have. As you know, Second Generation National Express are two contractors for all of our Sun Shuttle services. And due to a labor shortage in Western Pima County, National Express and Second Generation entered into a two-party agreement that allowed for emergency services between Ajo and Tucson. This will effectively eliminate any missed trips that may have resulted in the labor shortage. And it is a great example of regional coordination in order to better serve our communities. We have also won an ADOT 5339 appeal for rural service. Is Preston?
Yeah, I just wanted to note real fast. It should be 5311. It was, yeah.
Would you mind going into detail about the 5311 appeal?
Yeah, sure. So every 2 years, our agency applies for FTA funding for our rural transit services, or at least the routes that qualify for that through the 5311 Rural Transportation Grant. And every year, ADOT, reviews our services and determines how much funding they're willing to allot to us for those services. And it's every federal fiscal year that they do this. And we recently received the second year's funding for our rural services through this 5311 grant. And the original award that they provided us for our operations was significantly less than what we were anticipating for this upcoming fiscal year for our services. It was, I believe, approximately $376,000. Traditionally, that's a lot less than what we have received on an annual basis before. So we did appeal that awarded amount, and we made our case that, you know, that traditionally we have received significantly more, and, you know, in order to continue to maintain our services and to avoid any, you know, potential cuts or reductions to service, we would need additional funding to operate those routes that are, you know, in Ajo and in the surrounding regions of the greater Tucson area. And they reviewed that and decided to provide us with an additional $876,000. So in total, they will be awarding us $1.2 million for the next federal fiscal year for our 5311 services. So it was a big success for us, and a lot of federal funds that are going to be, you know, provided to us to continue operating our rural services in the region.
Thank you, Preston. In addition, we're also exploring partnerships for CDL certification for our Ajo location. Like I said, there is a current CDL labor shortage in Western Pima County that we are attempting to resolve with our partners in the jurisdictions that would be most applicable. Finally, we're exploring safety upgrades within the Sun Shuttle fleet, including driver shields, cameras, and other equipment to help deal with a lack of investment prior to this into driver safety. I'll take any questions or comments at this time.
One question for Preston: the money that you were granted, did that meet or exceed or equal to what you'd previously gotten once you won the appeal?
Yeah, that's a good question. So it basically equaled what we received last year. So it's a little bit less by maybe $100,000 or so, but it's approximately the same as what we received the last federal fiscal year.
And did they say why they cut it in the first place? And is that something that you're going to have to expect in the future?
No, they didn't. I mean, in their initial award letter, they, you know, there was a high level overview of why they decided to, you know, allot the funding that they allotted. But it didn't go into a lot of detail. And again, if we're just gonna keep an eye on, you know, the funding that they decide to provide us next year, and, you know, if it is significantly less than what we're expecting, we'll go through the appeals process again. Hopefully that doesn't happen, but you know, that's always an option.
And Rio, on the third item with the CDL certification, I'm not sure what you guys have involved yourselves in this up to this point, but we have all that if you need assistance in pursuing that. The requirements for the FTA in regards to the entry level ELDT, the entry level driver training program that the FTA imposed. So they could, I'm sure we could have set up a situation where we could help assist in that.
All right. Thank you, Wendell.
Mhm.
Any other questions or comments? I see John.
Good job, Preston.
Thanks, John.
All right. Any other questions or comments? All right, hearing none. We'll move on to the next item.
I apologize, Rio. That's all I've got. I don't have the adjournment slide.
Okay, no problem. I will take a motion to adjourn.
Thanks for everything, Rio. Appreciate it. And I motion that we adjourn.
All right,
Second.
all in favor?
Jonathan sounds so sad when he's.
Oh, I'm just hot and tired. Sorry. Hey, I motion that we adjourn.
Any opposed? All right, this meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
everybody.
Everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.